everybody, and welcome to BB Book Buzz. This is the June edition and the last one for the summer. Today I'm here with Katie Riordan and Jeff Clapes, and my name is Karen Stern, and as always we're here to give you a little tip on how you might find your next great read. And today we're going to start with Katie, who has
Lady
she
Macbeth.
might not be able to say the name of.
I'm going to say it. I'm going to go for it. I see how you chickened out, though, and then you said it was fine. So this is Lady Macbeth. It's by Ava Reed. It is a reimagining of the original Macbeth play, or the Scottish play. Scottish play. Yeah.
This is kosher or not.
Exactly. But so Lady Macbeth, everyone knows her as like one of the most famous Shakespeare villains. You know, cunning, ruthless.
Out damn spot.
Exactly. But this book really like kind of turns it a little bit on its head and shows you it from her point of view. And I really, really like it. A lot of people in their reviews describe it as feminist. I don't know if it's 100% feminist or just giving her a voice, which in its own way is feminist. But, but I do think that it just makes her more of a three-dimensional person, because you get to see that for context, she's a 17-year-old person who was just shipped away from her father, 17,
right.
Doesn't speak the language, and is marrying a man twice the age.
Maybe the size.
And the size. Oh, no, it's literally, she describes him as like a tree, like something that was grown out of the forest, you know?
Oh, wow.
So it's like she sees this person and it's not really even a person to her. It's like a mythical being who she is now attached to, you know, and as a part of him, not really her own person.
Right.
So the biggest reason why I think you should read this book is because it talks like, it pretty much frames it in a way that is beautiful. Like the whole story where you think you know where it's going to go, and it just ends up somewhere completely different. Like, so I think that's kind of cool.
Okay.
So it's reimagined. So if you're expecting the Shakespeare tale, it's not really 100% there. But it is, the language is beautiful. I think it can go hand in hand with Shakespeare itself, you know, which is high praise, and some people might not think that, but I think that I could just read her talk about the edge of the gate for hours. So I think that is pretty good. The other thing I would like to mention is that she was not power hungry in this. I think in Shakespeare you get to see that she was like a team with Macbeth. In this, she was just trying to survive, you know, the whole situation. Right. You know, she was not really bloodthirsty. She wasn't really a villain. She just wanted to make it out alive. Okay. And we'll see what happens, you know? Another major plot point in this is there's like a magical element to it, but it's the whole time you're questioning whether or not it's magic versus she's a woman, you know? Right.
Well, kind of like the witches in Macbeth anyway.
Exactly.
Right? Yeah.
Exactly. And there are the three witches in Macbeth in this as well. And you can see there's some like tricks of the trade that you're always wondering whether or not they're telling prophecy or they're just using that as a power tool, you know, throughout the whole thing. All right. It's like, does she have power or is she trying to get power, you know?
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of nuance here.
There's so much nuance in this book, and you leave and you're not really sure if she does have power or if she's just really pretty and men are silly, you know, like, and you don't know. Like, that's the whole book is pretty much about that. So, and she's trying to take the power where she can get it, you know. Right. Even her, and like the Duke describes her as witch touched and like cursed, and it's because she was so pretty that they thought that there was no option. She was either a witch or witch cursed, and they chose the lesser of the two. Okay. So,
which is witch cursed?
Apparently, because you're not a true witch, you can't be like killed for being witch cursed. You're an innocent in that.
Oh,
you know?
I see. Okay.
So that's what they do in the story. So it's kind of complicated. Wherever she turns, she's just trying to find a way to survive, even from birth. You know. Okay. So I highly recommend reading it if you have.
Do you need to have read Macbeth, the Shakespeare, recently or at all in order to really
Such a fun question, because guess what? I did not read Macbeth before I read this book. I read Macbeth this morning. And it was pretty...
I read Macbeth like, I can't even remember the last time I read it. It's so long ago.
I recommend reading it with it because it's really a unique like take, because it's also such a tiny play. Like, it's not huge. So you can definitely read it alongside, and then you can be like, so I read Macbeth this morning, which is what I just did. But it's not.
Or watch a performance.
Exactly, watch a performance.
Well, that will take you longer, but yes.
But it's a really cool read like alongside with this, because you get to really see the difference between like a 17th century take and a New York Times bestseller from 2022. You know, like it's a little different. But same storyline. And it's also really, really cool to see how, like, the thought process in Macbeth are still, like, storylines that we're being told today, you know, like, with Shakespeare. Like, it does survive.
It survives, yes.
Yeah.
It stands the test of time.
It does indeed.
Amazingly.
Yep.
All right. Well, that does sound like an interesting.
More things for my list.
Yeah, please. Yeah, I mean, if you're really into anything that's reimagined or retelling, highly recommend.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Jeff, you like those. You
Oh,
usually,
yeah.
usually do the Greek ones, but hey, you could
It's
do
usually
Shakespeare.
Greek mythology, but
Yeah.
a lot of Shakespeare. There's a lot of crossover between
Yes.
Shakespeare and
Right.
Yeah, there's a lot of
ancient
history
stories.
in it too, and there's a lot of, like, wars that I haven't thought about for a while.
Since you were in high school.
Exactly, since you're in
Yeah.
high school, and I'm like, oh, maybe I should brush up on all of it. So
Yeah.
it's kind of fun. Yeah.
All right. Jeff, what have you got
Me?
for us?
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I just realized that duck is
Looking at you?
staring at me. It's kind of creepy.
We'll have to put a blindfold on him or a hat or something.
I'm going to talk about a this week bestseller.
Yeah.
This just came out. Ocean Vuong's The Emperor of Gladness,
Wow.
which I was very much looking forward to because I actually only read one of his. Ocean Vuong he's not young. He's like in his 30s now, but
Right.
he's young.
Yeah.
And he's Vietnamese. And
He's local.
he's local.
Yeah.
I think he splits his time between New York and Northampton.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, one of the things I liked about this book, I should point out that gladness in the book, the title, there's metaphor in the title, which you kind of understand as you read the story, but it's actually also a place.
Wow.
It's a fictional,
okay.
Gladness is the name of the town in the story,
Okay.
actually East Gladness. And one of the things that I found appealing about it, just personally, is that it takes place kind of just north of Hartford and south of Northampton, where he lives.
Right.
And for me, that's where my mother's family is from. So
Right.
my aunt lived there, so I had a really good sense of what the place was like while I was reading it, because it's Connecticut,
Oh, wow.
but it's kind of sad Connecticut.
Right.
And it's not Greenwich, Connecticut.
Yeah.
It's a very different life there. Anyway, the basic plot of the story, and there's not a lot of, this isn't an action-packed book,
No.
but the writing, as you might expect from a poet, is beautiful. Although I found, if you read On Earth We're Briefly Gorgeous,
Yeah.
which was a huge bestseller, I
Yep.
don't know, 3 or 4 years ago.
Longer
That-
than that.
Yeah. That was really lyrical, really poetic.
Yeah.
This is more prosy. So I think if the poetry aspect kind
Kinda-
of makes you nervous, this is not. This is a very prose-oriented book that's
But just beautifully written because
but it's
he's-
just so beautifully written.
Right.
I should actually just let me read the first paragraph. Gives you a sense of the hardest thing in the world is to live only once, but it's beautiful here. Even the ghosts agree. Mornings when the light rinses this place, the shade of oatmeal, they rise as mist over the rye across the tracks and stumble toward the black-spired pines, searching for their names that no longer live in any living thing's mouth.
Wow.
How's that for an opening sentence? You know?
That's pretty. I'll put that up there.
Yeah.
But it's also funny. There's this is one of those books that the basic premise is actually very autobiographical. The main character is a young, in this case, like teenage young, Vietnamese kid who has quit school. His mother works in a nail salon. His life is a mess. He has no money, and I'm not spoiling things by telling you this because it's in the first couple of pages. He's standing on a bridge in this town, ready to just end it all.
Right.
And right next to the bridge lives a 80-something-year-old Lithuanian woman who sees him on the bridge, talks him down, and he ends up moving in with her.
Oh, wow.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
So there's this odd couple thing going on. His name is Hai, H-A-I, in a Vietnamese name, which of course she thinks is hi, so she calls him hello. Her name is Graniza, right? I've forgotten her name already. Grazina. She's Lithuanian. She has her own backstory that goes back to Stalin and escaping Lithuania in the war.
Wow.
And the other aspect to her that's crucial to the story is she's developing Alzheimer's.
Okay.
And so he becomes a caregiver. The relationship between them is just so beautiful. It's heartwarming, it's amazing. There are things about it that are funny. She just says stuff that's like, just out there. But the other part that I didn't realize was going to become so important as you get into the book, he gets a job working part-time at a restaurant that is basically like a bad chain restaurant that sells Thanksgiving food all year long. That's their shtick.
horrible.
It's
Yeah.
like, and
So you could be traumatized.
so this place becomes very important, and the constellation of people he gets to know who work there. There's the woman who's the manager, and it's this whole bunch of broken people who work together and form this family of sorts.
Right.
And they have a couple of
interesting.
kind of madcap adventures, and some bad things happen, and it's life.
Yeah.
It's one of those books that's just all about life, and particularly life in this corner of Connecticut that, like, the economy forgot, and
Yeah.
and there's all kinds of interesting personal relationships. There's the history of Grozina keeps going back since she's losing her memory. She often finds herself back in Lithuania.
Oh,
Right.
And he's trying to deal with that, and it's I just loved it.
Wow, it
I-
sounds amazing, and it sounds like it's got so many elements to it with
Yeah.
this very personal relationship between the two of them, but then also the characters, the cast of characters.
And I guess, like I said, it is from. I read a really interesting interview with him where Ocean Vuong actually lived through this. He went to Pace University and left, and he ended up living. Wasn't exactly the same situation, but he moved in with a friend's grandmother
Right.
Wow.
or something, and she didn't have Alzheimer's. But there's a lot of his personal experience
Right.
really is coming through in this book, and he just his ability to draw characters who are so different, and like I said, they're just all kind of broken and trying to make it through the day.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of those books around. It's funny, I was just trying to make a list of that. Like, I was trying to think of books like Anxious People by Bachman, which are
Yeah.
which are similar in that way, that you bring together this kind of misfit bunch.
Yeah.
And that's, like you said, that's life,
And
right?
you see
Yeah.
how much depth there is to
There is.
people who, when you first
Yeah.
meet them, you're like, yeah. And then you discover how much depth they have behind
Of
them.
course, yeah.
Yeah. So I think if you've liked any of the Bachman
Yeah.
books, this is
Well, a
an
more
even
kind of
more literary.
version of those, yeah.
But I love, I love literary fiction, but as literary as this is, it's still, it's not hard to get into. It's not
Right.
over the top. in
Oh,
that way. It's
that's
just,
exciting.
it's just beautiful.
As much as I love poetry, I think I have never actually read On Earth We're Briefly Gorgeous, and I think it is partly that it's supposed to be so poetic that
Yeah.
I have a little bit of a hard time within a whole book. Like, I love
Yeah.
poetry, but
And the other one, that book is much shorter. It's almost lots of little snippets.
I was
Right.
gonna say, is that not really linear?
It's not really linear,
Yeah.
and so this is a much more traditional prose novel.
Right.
So I think for people who either didn't like the earlier book for that reason, or
Right.
just feel,
The earlier one was also kind of autobiographical, though, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
Okay.
But oh, I'm trying to remember. There's one scene where they've had this crazy adventure where they go on a road trip and it goes spectacularly wrong. And on the way back, I won't be able to find it now, but there's a very poignant, difficult moment, and the little old lady who kind of just went along for the ride because she's got Alzheimer's and you can't
Right,
leave
you
her out.
can't leave her alone.
She just blurts out like, "Did I ever tell you that my father invented bubble wrap or something?" I forget what it isn't bubble wrap, but it's something equally ridiculous. And
Right.
it just like, So there's a lot of that, the milk of human kindness and the comedy of life
Right.
all together. So if you want something that is a good solid summer read, but it's not depressing. It's not.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Is it a hard read to get into, or do you,
No.
from immediate, you're
No,
like, you're
right from
sucked
the
in?
get-go. I think I read it in 2 days.
Yeah. All right. That one's definitely one for the list. Okay. Well, this one is definitely about life and its messiness as well. Although it's a rom-com, so a little different. So if you are looking for a good rom-com this summer, and this one has a couple of twists to it, this is Dolly Alderton's Good Material. You may know Dolly Alderton's name from her book, Everything I Know About Love, which also got made into a TV series, which you've probably seen on like Prime Video or Peacock or something.
It's more autobiographical.
Yes.
Yep.
And I think this one, well, not exactly autobiographical, but it's definitely taken from people she knows. So I said there was some twists to this. The first one is that, yes, it's a rom-com, which is written by a woman, which is not unusual. In fact, most of them are. But this one's narrated by a guy.
Oh, wow.
And you get that sometimes, right? You get the point of views alternating in romances. You get him and her, or him and him, or her and her. And that's one thing. But this one, you really are going into the guy's psyche, okay? And our guy is Andy Dawson, and he's been dumped.
Oh,
From the very beginning, he's been
shucks.
dumped. Yep.
Yeah.
And unceremoniously and without warning.
Yeah.
And he is reeling from it, and he just doesn't know where he is. The book starts, and I'll just read a little bit, with a list, which is headed, Reasons Why It's Good I'm Not With Jen. Can't dance, has no rhythm at all. Used to find it adorable until I saw people laughing at her, and I hate to say I was embarrassed. Overheard her say, let's grab a cappuccino sometime and we'll talk, to my teenage cousin who wanted advice about his university applications. Generally has quite 90s ideas about what is glamorous, like cocktails or spending 20 pounds on a plate of tagliatelle in a little place. Don't have to persuade her to like where we live anymore. You know, so he's got this whole list of reasons that it sets the tone for Andy, right? And who I think at some point was described as an overgrown schoolboy by one of his friends.
Yeah.
Okay, so we all know Andy, right? And I will stop here for a little warning. Andy is obsessed with this breakup, and that's what this book is about. A lot of the book is centered around this sort of post-breakup angsty behavior. And I know a lot of people love this book. I also know a lot of people, and I've seen reviews from people who wanted to put it down after a couple of chapters because they couldn't stand to listen to this guy whine anymore. Okay? My take on it, I loved it. My take on it was, it's comedy, right? It's the comedy of life. Again, it's that kind of thing. It's a comedy of errors, if you want to get Shakespearean about it. And it's, I don't know, if you think about any like Hugh Grant movie from the 90s, or, you know, like All About a Boy or Four Weddings or whatever, any of those where the guy is like a hopeless mess, but he kind of comes right in the end.
Yeah.
Or High Fidelity by Nick Hornby, which also is another one of those 90s things, you know, kind of along those lines. This is British. She's British, in case you don't know that about Dolly Alderton. So this is all set mostly in London, some of it outside London. And she's funny, so it is a comedy. It's got that to lighten up all of the, yes, Andy is a hot mess, and he's actually a comedian whose career is also in the dumps. And
She gave him good material.
Yeah.
that's why the title.
Yeah.
Yes. And you have to take that as a little bit of a harbinger of what's to come. But anyway, yes, he makes bad choices, but he also makes some good ones. And you see that he's a good friend. He's really trying to learn from this and to change his behaviors and be a better friend to his male friends who are all, you know, who also struggle in certain ways. He does make a fool out of himself, but he also has these redeeming moments where you know that he's basically a sound guy. He feels sorry for himself, but he can also look at himself and laugh and learn something. So, you know, for me, I was fine with it. I love these books that get into people's psyches and kind of dig around and
Three-dimensional characters.
kick up all the mud and
Yeah.
you know, just like. So like him or not, Alderton does a great job of being in his head, and she said in I can't remember if it was in the acknowledgments or in some interview I read, she basically says, you know, thanks to all of her guy friends that she hangs out with, because they were not only the inspiration, but they were
The good
the
material.
good material. There are also a bunch of great secondary characters. In particular, Andy and Jen have a couple, like a best couple. Like their best friends are Jane and Avi. They're both J and A, which is very confusing, and they make a thing of that. But anyway, so Jane and Avi have to not only sort of navigate the awkwardness of staying friends with both parts of the breakup cover. So, but they also represent that like 30-something thing that's going on these days of couples that have decided to have children and couples who either have decided not to or are struggling with that decision, right? So Jane and Avi do have kids, and the kids are so well done. Like, they are not precious little perfect children who say all the right things. They are really true children, and she draws them really well. And there's a lot of great moments with that. But anyway, so these relationships, along with Andy's rebound girlfriend, and
I was going to ask, like, you said it's a rom-com, but I'm waiting for Andy to get like.
Yeah, well, yep. I'm not giving too much away here, but Andy's rebound girlfriend is another good character, and then there's this 70-something guy named Morris, who's like a conspiracy theorist, and Andy ends up having to move in with him, and that's after he's had the living on the barge incident. Like, living on canal barges is like a really trendy life choice in London right now, and he fails horribly at that. So then he ends up with Morris. So there's a lot of like good situational comedy in this too, that she uses all these characters to good effect. Anyway, the final twist though is that the last few chapters suddenly switch to Jen's point of view.
Oh, wow.
So you get
That's clever.
yeah, and you realize
get the reverse.
it's
Like,
right. It's
yeah.
really the genius of the book, actually, is that you realize you've kind of been missing. You know, clearly he doesn't have a clue why she broke up with him, because that's all he can talk about.
Yeah.
But you've missing her perspective, and you've had plenty of his. But also that her perspective is not one that you often see represented in rom-coms, whether it's TV, movies, or books. It's refreshing to see why she broke up with him and what her struggles are. And I think they're very modern ones. You know, you can say all you like about it being a Hugh Grant thing, but this is a very modern comedy. So no spoilers for the ending, but I will say that after everything that you go through with these characters, you will feel like you've earned this particular ending. It's the right ending,
Yes.
I think. Yeah, so to sum it all up, it's kind of a book with real messy people, and she's able to find the humor and the humanity in it, and just play those for all it's worth. I thought it was a really
It
good
makes me think of.
read.
I love reading, you know, Miss Manners and Dear Abby and those kinds of things.
Yeah,
And you always feel like whoever has written in with their description of the problem, you're like, I want to know
the whole
The whole,
story.
like-
Story,
Yes, yes.
what's the other side of this.
Yeah, I mean, so
it's
Jen's
kind of fun to
chapters
think of
are
a book that does that.
it's like probably, I would almost say 3/4, 1/4. So
Yeah.
it's mostly him, and I have given that away, but that if you read any of the reviews, you will also get it spoiled for you that suddenly you're in Jen's.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So is this similar to, like, not in writing style, but in like the narrative switches to like Emily Henry's books? Were you
I
guys
haven't
surprised?
finished an Emily Henry.
Ah.
I'm admitting this as a librarian on TV.
Every
It
book
sounds
its reader.
similar. Yeah.
Have you read one where
Yeah.
it's like mostly one and then the other?
Yeah, I would say like if Happy Place is very similar to that.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And it's very surprising.
It's funny. That's the one I started and didn't get through.
Well, you should finish it because you've been saying the same thing about this one.
Because I was telling all my friends in my book club who did not want to finish this book, I was like, just keep reading.
Keep going.
Keep reading.
Keep going.
So I'll do the same
You'll
with
have
Emily
to finish
Henry.
it, yeah.
Emily Henry. All right. Okay, we have a little bit of time left, and I would just want to tell you all about some very exciting news for adults for the summer. Katie has organized BB Library Bingo, yes, which is actually a summer reading for adults program. And it's got a really lovely set of choices here. But first I'm going to let Katie tell you about the rules and regs.
So the rules and regulations are that you can get one of those little cards. It's going to be in between circulation and the reference desk in the library, or you can print one out at home. It's also on our blog, on our website. But each individual square has a task that we'd like you to do, which is like download Libby.
It could be download Libby. It could be borrow a book with one-word title. It could be attend one of our Plaza Jazz concerts.
Exactly.
That's an easy one to do.
Get one of our Buzz books.
Get one of our Buzz books like Jeff did.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Or borrow a band book. So there's all kinds of possibilities here.
Yes. And so once you do something, bring it over to us, show us the book, show us the receipt, show us your Libby, something like that at the reference desk. We give you a stamp.
We're pretty easy.
Yeah, we go by the honor system. We trust you. And we'll give you a sticker. We have a little sticker box, and you can pick whatever you want. It's really fun.
See, not kids don't just get the stickers.
Yeah, kids don't just
We
get
too.
the stickers. These are for adults. These are fun stickers.
Yeah.
So also, if you flip it over, the card in the back will tell you all the rules, but you will also see that once you get a line anyway, you get submitted to a raffle. In that raffle, you can win one of these following prizes, which
are a Cravings gift card, a Life Love Cheese gift card, a White Limb Books gift card, and then each one of those comes with a BB blanket or tote, 2 free audiobook credits from Libro FM, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, and they're a really cool organization that gets like smaller indie books.
Yep,
So,
and supports
local
bookstores. Yep.
So it's pretty fun.
I
Yeah.
just went by Life Love Cheese on the way over here, and they have little tables outside now.
Amazing.
Yes, I saw that. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So this goes until August 16th.
Right. The
And-
drawing will be on August 16th.
Yep. So you have until then to come grab your cards and get your stamps.
Well, you might want to come a little before then, otherwise you're not going to.
True.
Yeah, you have to take a little time to do this, but like I said, we are not hard taskmasters. We will give us something, and we'll let you go.
Come play. Say hi.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. All right, we've actually had a lot of adults take this. I mean, I know that in past years, summer reading programs have not always gone so well.
Yeah.
This one seems to be
Good.
chugging right along.
We also have Plaza Jazz, which is one of our little squares.
Right, Plaza
is
Jazz,
coming
which
up.
starts on July 10th, for those of you who are wondering.
Yep.
Yes, so come see us in the summer at the library, and for right now, anyway, this is the end of our season for Book Buzz, but we will see you again in September, and thanks for joining us.